there was J. Marion Sims. I won't spend a lot of time with him. He's another figure. You can Google him. There's a statue, actually, of him in Central Park. And J. Marion Sims was an individual credited. He was a father of modern gynecology. How many women in here know what a vaginal speculum is? And for those men in the room that we lost, a vaginal speculum is a device designed to open up the vagina. It was considered one of the most important advancements in medicine that was made. He was credited as being the wealthiest wealthiest physician to have ever lived. And what's interesting about him, look at the medals pinned on him. I was just very curious about how it was they regarded this man, because no one ever really looked at how did he come up with that vaginal speculum. The way he did it was he actually worked on unanesthetized, did experiments on unanesthetized slave women. He created a makeshift hospital in his backyard in the mid-1800s. He built the first vaginal speculum from a pewter spoon. And he reasoned that slave women were able to bear great pain, meaning we don't need any anesthesia, because their race made them more durable, and thus they were well suited for painful medical experimentation. We didn't even, because we didn't feel like other women could feel. This man would cut into women, cut into them, and just said, well, since they're black, they don't really feel it. Unbelievable. And more importantly is what he did to infants, because not only did he experiment on women, he also experimented on infants. He said that black infants suffered from something he called trismus nascentium, which is now commonly referred to as neonatal tetanus. Neonatal tetanus originates in horse manure, which was a likely cause of the disease in slave infants. He attributed it to the indecency and intellectual flaws of slave infants, together with skull malformations at birth. That is a shoemaker's awl. And that's an 1800s shoemaker's awl. He would stick that into the heads of brand new infants in an effort to realign their skulls based on the indecency and intellectual flaws of their parents, to treat the malady. Of course, it was 100% death rate. But that's what he would stick in the head of a baby at birth. And so these are things that are so horrific that you can't possibly wrap your head around it. And this man is, just Google him. And I think to myself, if I were up here in front of you right now, and this is going to become very important as I move into the other slides. If I stomped a puppy to death up here, just a little puppy, and stomped it right here to death in front of you, most of you would need therapy. And I would be arrested probably faster than killing a black man for killing a puppy. How could you do that? Do you realize how much dissonance you have to remove in order to stick that into the brain of a child? More importantly, the child can no longer be human. Are you understanding what I'm saying? The reason why he could do it is they weren't human. They didn't even feel pain. That's what this man believed. Now, you may look at that and go, those are horrific things from the past. There is a book out right now, not table reading. It's called Medical Apartheid. This is written by Harriet Washington, came out last year. This book chronicles the experimentation on black people up to contemporary day. See, we want to look at the Tuskegee experiments. We want to look at Sims and go, oh, that just still going on. Implicated, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, because we weren't what? Human.
Sims was an evil dumbass. I'm coming out the gate with it. Sims was an evil dumbass, man. One of the reasons why I picked this video is when I saw it, it made me think about statements that I've made in the past referring to how a lot of the modern medical practices and a lot of the modern social sciences were created by experimentation on black people, mainly black enslaved people, or even black people who were sharecroppers, or any black person who was basically all black people were deemed as non-human. Like one thing that she's getting at. But medical apartheid is another reason why I picked this clip. Go get that book. That matter of fact, that's a book we're gonna add to the list of things that we need to read. Medical apartheid, because it also is relevant because it leads to the medical distrust that we have today in Black America. And another reason why I picked this clip is I like when she hit on going beyond Tuskegee and beyond the norm when we're looking to explain what happened to us medically and why we don't trust the medical establishment, because there's enough evidence about the way that we argue. Not all of us, but the majority of black people that I've heard argue the Tuskegee experiment. Overall, in the overall scheme of what they're saying, they're correct, but the details, largely they're incorrect. And then when the person pushes back with accurate details, especially if it's a black person, but let it be a white person, the white person puts back with accurate details. Of course, the black person, you racist, but that mindset would be for that person with the pushback if they're black or white. But that comes because of the narratives that black people have. So go read the book Medical Apartheid so you can familiarize yourself with more of the incidences or the horrors and the evilness that white people did when developing the modern medicine that we use in America and the modern social sciences that we use in America. A lot of evil happened under the umbrella of STEM to black people. A lot of evil happened to black people under the umbrella of STEM that still resonates today. The way we take care of ourselves is the worst because of our overall still distrust for medicine. One of the things I'm gonna say is we need more black doctors. We need more black scientists. We need more black people who are about nation building to be in these, to have the, you don't have to be in these spaces, but you need the skill sets because we need the skill sets. So if you got to go in the spaces to get the skill sets to bring them back, do that. But we need the skill sets. You don't necessarily need to be in the spaces. But that's how I want to start it off.
Yeah, and Medical Apartheid is a really good book. I've read it. I'm about to read it again. But it's a really good book, and it's one of those books that I love because it brings things forward. You know, a lot of times, a lot of us don't really spend enough time looking at what's happening nowadays, like truly what's happening nowadays, because we're spending so much time looking backwards. And you know, this book is one of those books that brings the past into the present.
Yes.
So, but I mean, I agree with everything you said. Like, it's funny when you think about stuff like that, because these are the types of stories and the types of beliefs and systems that lay the groundwork for how we can continue to have all of the social problems we have nowadays.
Yes.
And if you aren't aware of the severity of the ideology that allows somebody to do things like these, like in particular, you know, stabbing the baby in the head.
That's crazy.
Yeah, if
Shoemakers
you're not
all.
right, if you're not aware of that, then you fall victim to saying things like, well, that doesn't affect us anymore. That was back then. You know what I'm saying? That was when they died, it died with them. You know, to me, that's
No,
a clear indication that you don't understand the ideology, the culture, and how culture is spread forth or
the code of
propagated
white
or
supremacy.
inculcated. There's so much about the way the mentality carries forward that you're not understanding, that you shouldn't even really be participating in this conversation. You're not there
Right.
yet. You know what I'm saying? You're a first grader trying to talk to college students about Nietzsche. You're not there
And
yet. You don't even know how to
you
say the name.
don't even know who Nietzsche is. just
You
going
know
off
what
of
I'm
what you heard.
saying?
But see, that's what we keep saying. That's one of the biggest issues in our community of Black people. Period. Is we believe the narratives over the information, which is crazy.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
So
also,
yeah.
go ahead. My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now go ahead. Go ahead.
But what was also relevant about this is this clip is, aren't Black women always talking about the mistreatment that they get from the doctors and how the doctors never believe them that they're in pain? It's still happening.
Yeah.
But she,
Yeah.
because she said something significant. The book Medical Apartheid starts from time in the 1800s till contemporary times to bring you up to date, to show you that the stuff is still happening and how it's relevant today. Black women are constantly complaining about the maltreatment that they receive from their medical care providers. My mom even talks about how, and I've heard plenty, thousands of Black women say they don't believe that I'm in pain. Now, right, and now Black men aren't complaining the same way Black, because we don't have that particular issue. But guess what? We dying. We dying early. We're not dying as early as we used to. Things are getting better, but historically we would be dying earlier. Historically, the neglect of medical care. We believe we Black men brought into an idea that we didn't need to go to the doctor. We ain't even going and we dying.
Yeah. It's it's the mistreatment, man. It's the, you know what, I'm gonna go to the doctor for. They ain't gonna do nothing for me anyways. And in a lot of cases, in too many cases,
It's
that's
true.
proven to be true.
Right.
Which is why, like you said earlier, we need more people going and getting those skills and then bringing it back to our community, not getting the job in the major medical establishment and hoping to make. That's not, because what ends up happening is you end up becoming inculcated with those beliefs. You begin to
Mhm.
believe the narratives, and I've seen that far too many times. My wife, when she got her wisdom teeth pulled, or yeah, she got her wisdom teeth pulled. She was in excruciating pain, and the doctor refused to prescribe. This was a Black dentist, refused to prescribe her more medication because he thought that she was faking it to get more drugs, and he actually said that.
You just pulled her goddamn teeth.
So she's walking around the house with holes in her head and nothing stronger than over the counter Tylenol and pain medication, because he doesn't believe that she's in pain for real. She's just lying to get more drugs. Somebody with no history of drug abuse or anything like that, but she's
And,
lying.
and you know you just pulled the teeth out of her head. But that's an example of a Black doctor who is not on our side. That person is just Black. So once
Yeah,
again, we need Black doctors, need Black scientists, engineers, all that, but who are in the mindset of nation building and building up for us and doing for us and doing for self. Not just, that's why we don't want the ones who are just a part of the system. We want the ones we want the skills
yeah,
to
we
be a
need the
part of our
skills.
system, to be a part of
Yeah,
our code and our
yeah.
system.
We need the skills. We don't need what they've built using the skills. We need to build our own thing with our own skills. But it goes into, again, making it like every time there's a police, well, recently, the majority of the time there's been a police incident where a Black person is killed by the police, there's a Black officer involved. Like, so I'm just making the point that Black people going into those systems become a part of the system. When you send your
Right,
kids
right,
into those systems,
right,
they become a part of the systems. And,
right.
and that's a whole other conversation about what we need to be doing outside of the system to support those trying to create change inside of the system. But
What,
fact of the matter is, we're not doing it.
read it. Look, because if we send our scholars, the young people with the desire to study medicine and science and all these things, if they go into this codified, we don't have to worry about them because we already know how they were brought up and how they're going to exist because they are on code. They've everything that they've done has been structured under this code. and they will exist codified. But because we don't exist out like that within our regular lives, and we as a collective we haven't established that, they go and get lost into the systems, especially the medical system, because like you're saying, black women's complaints are valid, but a lot of the times they don't like to say it. It be our own ones. Now we know I ain't gonna, I would say the majority of the time the doctors usually don't look like them. From what they tell me, the doctors usually don't look like them. But the times where the doctor looks like them, it's crushing to look in a black woman's eyes when she tells me that, like you saw with your wife, the doctor didn't believe me. The doctor treated me like this, and the doctor was black. That lets you get, that's more evidence to what you were saying. You can't just send people in the system. They have to be codified before they go anywhere outside of our community. But we got to get our shit together.
Yeah, and the other part of getting our shit together is the larger point that I think she was trying to make, which is we're not fighting against, and I think it's a losing battle, but I understand it. From the perspective of those people that are fighting to change the minds of white people, they think, a lot of them, I'm not gonna say all, but a lot of them, because a lot of the ones I've talked to, I'll say that they think that it's all about changing behaviors.
Right.
And they don't understand the behaviors are a product of the mindsets. And the mindsets, the mentalities, the perspectives, those are going to exist and be problematic, even if they do stop the behavior, the specific behavior that you're targeting. And so then what, are we going to become the white people behavior police?
Well, racism will do what it's always done. It will evolve and refine itself. So the behavior, think about it. When we keep saying this, and that's why Mondays I put out these videos reading these books, because we need to goddamn read more of the information and understand what's going on. All right. So the behavior is based, like you said, the mindset, the code, the programming that the person have determines the behavior. Okay, so the behavior will change. So whatever the overall goal is for white supremacy can still be reached, but the programming hasn't changed. So remember, like a white it's hard pressed for a white person to hang a black person from a tree and just and open like have public hangings. That's not gonna happen. A public hanging ain't gonna happen. White people are not gonna have the traditional picnic, right? Which was legal at one time. Nowadays, yeah, a black person will get eliminated by a police officer, or a black person will get eliminated by another racist white person, and it'll be a bit different. He shot him from a distance, or this or that. It's not the same, because they understand nothing's gonna affect their bottom line. Nothing. But they will refine their system to make it more palatable to the black people who are lost. The black people who are confused about racism, the system will always refine itself to make it more palatable to them, so they'll start to accept it more.
And it's not just geared towards black people are obviously the primary audience, because you want to, if you can keep a group of people infighting about what's actually happening.
Yes.
But the goal is also to make it more palatable to other minority groups, and to make it more palatable to the larger white groups that exist in other countries.
Yep.
Because we got to remember, a primary driver in the social changes in the 50s and 60s was that America's image internationally was coming under attack with everything that was going on black people. So, and you notice, right? It's real interesting, right? Things are continuing to happen. But like you said, white supremacy has made such great adaptations and such great adjustments that out in the international world, on the international scene, the oppression experience right here in America isn't even a talking point.
But